Is it a good time to get a Sprinter / cargo van for the purpose of delivery and transport? I'm going to talk about that on this segment of the Gig Geezer. If this is your first time checking out the Gig Geezer, if you're a returning visitor of the Gig Geezer, thanks for coming by. And if you would not mind, hit that subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. I said in the teaser, is it a good time to get a Sprinter / cargo van for the purpose of delivery and transport this year? Now, full disclosure, it took less time to talk about reasons why you should not get a Sprinter / cargo van than there were for reasons to get a Sprinter / cargo van. But I'm still going to give out 5 points, 5 reasons each side, and we're going to get right into it. Now, I want to also, for full disclosure, share once again that my entry into the ownership and operation of a Sprinter / cargo van is different than yours, and your reason will be different from mine, as with other people. What I will say again is that my reasoning for pursuing a transaction for this van was based on the fact that I had been doing gig food delivery work, primarily gig food delivery work, with some last mile work operating out of my F-150. And prior to that, it was out of a Nissan Pathfinder. And before that, 2011 Maxima. And before that, I was doing primarily rideshare. And the main reason for my pursuing the Sprinter / cargo van was based on the rationale that it would give me a greater earnings capacity, which it has. The other reason was that I wanted to pivot into something else, given how I had sensed the hypersaturation of the market in the gig food delivery sector. So, as you see here in the setting I'm actually en route from Arden, North Carolina to Atlanta on a brokered opportunity that's going to pay me $450. And on my way to Atlanta, I've got to stop in Greenville to pick up 14 5-gallon containers of paint and drop them off in a town, Westminster, South Carolina. That's going to pay me another $149 and change. You can round it up to $150. So I know already today I'm going to earn right at about $600, and there's still the possibility of catching something out of Atlanta. But that said, we're going to talk with reason number 1 why you should not pursue the ownership and operation of a Sprinter / cargo van. So now we're going to talk about the reasons why I have not really decided how I'm going to go through all the points though, but I'm just going to go right into it. Reason number 1 why you should not get a Sprinter / cargo van. There are a lot of variables in play. What are the variables in play right now? The economy. For as much as people are saying that the economy is rather stable, there's a lot of reasons to believe the economy is not as stable as what it appears to be. The market is not as favorable as it was. The market, as from what I've gathered through my homework, the market for delivery and transport is not as favorable as it was in 2020 and 2021. And a lot of that has to do with the shutdowns and the lockouts. People were clamoring to get someone to deliver their stuff who was willing to come out here and deliver their stuff, and people, from what I understand, made a killing those years. Now, my getting into the delivery transport side with the Sprinter / cargo van started in December 2022, but 2023 I eventually got into the brokered opportunities, namely at the end of March 2023, and all I've heard is how the rates have been horrible. But that is a known fact. based on the conversations that I've had with people by email or in person, or just looking at other YouTube channels or content creators, those who are highly knowledgeable of the business, the rates are not as good as they were 2020, 2021. There are reasons for that, but I'm not going to get entirely into it because I still don't feel qualified to talk about a lot of those things. But suffice it to say, the economy is not as strong as the economy is very fickle, fractious. Using some of my terms, it's somewhat unstable, and the market itself is not favorable for carriers. That's carriers or drivers. Reason number two. Now, I have for many times have said to myself already that I hate doing what I'm doing. I have, and the reason why I hate what I'm doing, and this leads into reason number two. There is the constant mental challenge of finding money out here, based on what you're doing. If it's primarily transport and delivery, where you're working gig apps and you're working brokered opportunities, and maybe even doing stuff for a carrier in which or a carrier dispatcher, there's always the mental grind of being on point for hours at a time throughout a day. You wake up looking for money, and you damn near go to sleep looking for money, and eventually that shit gets tired. And so if you're not up for that mental grind of trying to make your money, then it's not getting a van is not a good idea. You may want to stick to a car and do whatever you're going to do with a car. Another reason is that the reason why I probably hate what I'm doing sometimes is because I still have not given myself a full suite of options. I've spoken of options. I've tried to create options for myself. And yes, somehow, some way, I have been able to do what I've been doing over the past year or so with the Sprinter/cargo van. Already this month, I'm over $7,000, and it's the 16th of the month. Last month, it was south of $9,300, and the previous 6 months before that, it was averaging just south of $11,000 a month. But there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes, and oftentimes that I've described in this in several segments of the Gig Geezer, there's also been a lot of sleepless nights, and there's been a lot of times where I don't know where the next dollar is coming from, but yet the dollars keep coming in. But if you're not up to that, if you're not up to that type of a challenge, you don't need to be investing in a van. Another reason, there's gig app instability, or there's gig app unpredictability. As it is in my market right now, a lot of the last mile apps are silent. There's a lot of days in which you may see a blip of two or three opportunities come up, and that's it for the entire day. So then what do you do? If you've been looking for last mile gig app opportunities, and that's it, you better have something else going on. I recall how folk gave me the business about working gig food delivery opportunities in a van, and if that was all I was doing, then I would probably agree with him that I probably should not have gotten a van. But because there are other things that I do, then there is justification for me having this van. But also the results have shown, as again as evidence of many of the segments of the Gig Geezer. Now another reason is brokered load opportunities. It's unpredictable with that. We talk about the rates all the time, but there's the opportunities. It's my understanding the spot market, which is where we, those of us who look for brokered opportunities, if you don't have a contract, the contract opportunity, the brokered opportunities or the spot market opportunities are a function of the contract opportunities that people do not want. That's my understanding. Correct me if I'm wrong, and if I'm wrong, hey, if you correct me by either sending me an email or commenting in the section below. And by the way, if you like the content that's been provided in this segment or in any other segment, hit that subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. Another reason is gas prices. We are in the midst of gas prices on an upswing again, and for a few months now, gas prices have been almost to a point where it's been favorable. I would say back in October, gas prices had reached a point to where they were quite favorable for drivers. Depending on where you were, gas prices I saw got as low as $2.39 a gallon. That was in Texas. In South Carolina, I saw gas get down to $2.59 a gallon, and in Georgia, I saw it down to $2.49 a gallon. Those are more favorable gas prices, which the cost of operating a van being less. Another thought that comes to mind is the hypersaturation of the market, be it the gig apps or just in general with sprinter/cargo vans. There are still a lot of people out here. A lot of folks jumped into this back in 2020, 2021, be it on the gig apps or brokered opportunities. A lot of people got in, and it's my understanding, based on certain sources, it's going to take a few more years for the market to correct itself to where the capacity, or the capacity, which are the supply of drivers out there, is to come down to a level to where it was pre-2020. That's just on the carrier side of things. But when it comes to gig apps, the numbers just keep going on up and up. They're not going to go down anytime soon. The numbers are going to keep going up. And these gig apps, the reason why they open the floodgates for more people is because they're trying to satisfy their customers, their investors, about having the availability of people to deliver their orders. They're in the business of delivering orders, and they don't care how many people may be out there chomping at that limited supply of corn. Another reason, the fifth reason why I say that it's not a good time to get into the ownership and operation of a sprinter/cargo van. If you have not done sufficient, if you've not put in an effort at doing your homework with how things are out here, you really are wasting your time getting a van. Because what happened, I've seen many comments on my channel and on other people's channels, how they say that they got this van, they got this insurance that they got to pay, and they're not moving. They ain't making no money. And oftentimes people get their van, people do what they're going to do, but then they're looking to people like me, and they may be looking to other content creators to give them all these shortcuts and insights that should get them up and running just like that. And it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. Anyone who's making any decent money will tell you that it doesn't work that way. You've got to put in your time and effort. Admittedly, I didn't spend a lot of time on YouTube. I didn't. It may have helped me that I had already 6 years behind me working gig economy, so I understood certain things. It may have also helped me that coming into this, I've been operating an insurance agency for going on now over 20 years. In some form, in some iteration, in some capacity, I've been operating an insurance agency for over 20 years. So I understand about what it takes to keep something going. But if you're coming straight from a W-2 environment to a 1099 environment where it's all on you, and I've done videos on that, and I've mentioned in multiple videos how you want to be your own boss, get used to the fact that, hey, it's all on you, buddy. Okay? There's a lot of things that go into the ownership and operation of a sprinter/cargo van. regardless of whether it's for delivery transport or however you use it for other means. Another part to number 5 is you need to make a quick transition from a W-2 mindset. As I mentioned, actually I already mentioned this though, but I'm going to say it again. You need to work on transitioning your thinking from a W-2 mindset to a 1099 mindset, or that of a business owner. It's almost like when I give you a good example of this. I mentioned in a previous video how I went from being a newspaper reporter. I went from a newsroom, and then 2 months later, I was working at a car lot. And so it took the transition from a reporter's mindset and how I went about doing things, my mannerisms, the way I talked and all that. It took a while. It was a very steep learning curve. It doesn't happen overnight, but you've got to have that determination that you're going to make that transition, okay? And the transition is going to come with a steep learning curve. You're going to get beat up a few times. You're going to get your ass kicked royally. But the focus, the goal, the finish line is getting to the point where you are thinking as a business owner, a 1099. Because, again, if you're not willing to make that type of a transition, you don't need to be getting a Sprinter/cargo van. You're wasting your time. I am now in Atlanta, and I am probably about 15 minutes away from dropping off, or at least arriving at the Atlanta airport to drop off the initial load that I had picked up in North Carolina. Along the way, I actually had an opportunity to pick up something in Greenville, 14 5-gallon canisters, 14 5-gallon containers of product, and drop off right, you want to say right along the South Carolina Georgia border in an area called Westminster. It was a 50-mile trip along the way, and that paid, I might say $150, $149 and change, let's say $450. So I'm looking at right now right at $600, and I'm still hopeful that I might be able to book something or catch something either back in South Carolina, or they'll take me out of Atlanta back towards South Carolina, a brokered opportunity, something that'll add to the total. But anyway, what I want to do now is give 5 reasons why I believe you should consider getting a Sprinter/cargo van. Now, again, what I want to say is, unlike other people's experiences. I did not leave a 9 to 5, a W-2 situation to pursue the gig economy. I was already an insurance agent who had made the transition with respect to property and casualty from being a captive agent to an independent agent. And as the timing would be, as I began to get my footing and get established and get things in place to start to set out on my own with property and casualty, which added to my licensing in life, accident, and health. I happened to come across gig economy with Uber and Lyft, and then I branched out from there, and that's been well documented in several segments of the Gig Geezer. So, but what are some reasons why you should consider then getting a Sprinter/cargo van? These are just some common reasons, though, but they still hold true. If you're looking for a change of pace, if you're looking to get away from the W-2 world, if you're looking to be on your own, where you are in control of your own destiny, your own financial destiny, and so forth, then by all means consider looking into a Sprinter/cargo van. If you're another reason, if you're looking to add to your personal equipment inventory, if you've been driving as I started out with a 2009 Ford Taurus. Then I drove a 2011 Maxima, and then a 2018 Nissan Pathfinder, and then 2019 F-150, and then this Sprinter/cargo van. If you're looking to upgrade an equipment, by all means. If what you're looking to accomplish from a business standpoint, not so much as cargo van business, because I talked about that in this segment of the Gig Geezer. What I mean is, if what you're looking to do, that which earns you your money, if it gives you an upgrade in equipment, by all means, pursue it. Another reason for Sprinter/cargo van. Now, when I looked for a van in December 2022, I guess you'd say the supply chain was still affected from the lockouts, and just inventory was not as it is now. Inventory levels are not as they are now. But at some point, some people anticipate that it's going to be a glut again. And if it becomes a glut at some point in 2024, now this will be a good time. That will be a good time to pursue the ownership and operation of a Sprinter/cargo van. Because if there is a glut, if the supply is greater than the demand, people got to move inventory. They got to move equipment. They got to move the stuff. And so they're going to sell them at prices that are more favorable, more attractive than, say, when I was looking for a van. In fact, that was one of the things that I didn't mention about, but what I come to find out very quickly in the pursuit of this van, the demand, there was a great demand. It was hard to find a van. And when I shared that I drove 4 hours to Cumming, Georgia from Columbia to complete the transaction for this van, it was because of the supply did not meet the demand. Fortunately, I found it at a price that made it worth my while too. And that was, by the way, $35,000. Another reason for considering a van in 2024, and by the way, if you like the content that's been provided in this segment or in any other segment, hit the subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. One last thing I'm going to mention is kind of a reminder. It took me longer to come up with 5 good reasons why you should get a van in 2024. The gig economy itself is the gig economy itself continues to evolve, and as the gig economy evolves, as it does, there are going to be more conveniences that will be created through an app in which people use their phone to hook up with your services that you may offer. And for that reason, there may be the need for someone who owns and operates a Sprinter/cargo van. Inherently, there's going to be that need. And so it's a matter of, I guess, positioning yourself at the right place at the right time in order to make yourself viable. Now, I've got one other thought. I'm getting close to the exit that I need for here in Atlanta. Getting off at the I'm almost at the exit where I need to get off at here in Atlanta. So I'm kind of making sure that I don't miss it. I'm in the correct lane and all, so at least I won't have to deal with traffic honking at me and so forth. But ultimately, what is another good reason for getting a van? The last reason for why you should get a van in 2024, ultimately, regardless of what I say, something I said in the onset, regardless of what anyone else says, it is what you make of what you do. And what I mean by that, my getting a van in 2022 might not have been a good time even then, but it's what you make of it that makes the difference. And so nothing can, there is no substitution for how you make your business work. And that's strictly on you. That's strictly on your enterprising abilities. That is strictly on your determination and your discipline of making things work. And with that, that's all I have to share for this segment of the Gig Geezer. Again, if you like the content that's been provided in this segment of the Gig Geezer and any other segment, hit that subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. I'm in Wood Lane, and as always, may your grind and may your hustle continue. And while I'm at it, this was my earnings for today, Friday, February 16, 2023, and this is what my total is as of today for this work week that began on Monday, February 12, 2023.